El Salvador, February 2023. Cameras roll as thousands of shirtless men, shackled, heads bowed, march into a brand new mega-prison, the Terrorism Confinement Center, or Cecot. Its mastermind, President Nayib Bukele, the self-styled world's coolest dictator who has waged war on gangs that have plagued the country for decades, using mass arrests and brutal incarceration. Once the murder capital of the world, El Salvador is now one of the safest countries in the Americas. But critics say this comes at a price. Thousands jailed without due process, allegations of torture, and power concentrated in one man's hands. This is the story of El Salvador's brutal path to peace, and why the safety Bukele delivered could come at a dangerous cost. 2015, El Salvador, a small country of about 6 million people in the Americas, is the murder capital of the world. 103 homicides per 100,000 people. Entire neighborhoods are controlled by gangs like MS-13 and Barrio 18. Extortion, kidnappings, and killings are a daily reality. But something unprecedented happened. The murder rates plunge, halving in just 3 years.
One theory is that the previous government was beginning to talk to gang leaders
to find some sort of modus vivendi with these groups that would allow them to bring homicide rates lower while leaving the gangs with significant political power.
While homicides fell, gangs still ruled. Enter Nayib Bukele, a young mayor turned political outsider with giant ambitions.
He was a former mayor of San Salvador. He'd had some success there increasing security, and he presented himself as a breath of fresh air.
Bukele's background is in marketing. He has a really refined sense of how to present himself. He's obviously incredibly social media savvy.
Since the civil war in El Salvador, there have been two parties. Both had become mired in corruption.
This idea that the political system is not delivering for people, Bukele was able to tap into that.
Then in 2019, a key part of his message was, we can return Salvador to normality.
Bukele's election was a shock to the political establishment. He used his first term to amass more and more power. But true to his word, his territorial control plan sees killings in the country continue to fall. El Salvador felt at its safest for decades. But in 2022, a single weekend changed everything.
An increased army presence on the streets in El Salvador, an immediate reaction to a bloody weekend. 62 homicides on Saturday, the most in one single day in more than 20 years.
March 2022, a weekend of gang violence leaves 87 dead, shattering El Salvador's fragile sense of safety.
Bukele initiated a state of emergency.
There was the removal of habeas corpus, the ability for the military to conduct policing operations,
to round up anyone even suspected of being a gang leader and imprison them.
It was meant to be about 30 days. It's been systematically extended every single month since then.
In just a few years, over 75,000 people are detained, including thousands of minors. Mass trials see up to 900 defendants at once, and gang sentences stretch to 60 years. 2% of the entire population is now behind bars. As cells overflowed, Bukele turned to his boldest project yet, a mega-prison. This is the Terrorism Confinement Center, Cecot. Opened in 2023 to hold El Salvador's most feared gang members and send a message far beyond its borders.
Often these authoritarians have terrible prisons. It's a sort of dirty secret. Bukele is rather the opposite, with these slickly produced videos.
With men who are completely tattooed all the way up.
Why does he do that? Because he thinks this is a simple battle.
It's billed as the model prison where the worst of the Salvadoran gangs are being housed.
Cecot holds 40,000 inmates, the largest prison in the Americas. 256 cells crammed with at least 90 prisoners. Less than a square metre each, and below Red Cross guidelines. Bunks are bare metal sheets shared between inmates, and each cell has just 2 toilets, no walls, no doors, no privacy, all under harsh artificial light that never turns off, while guards watch from above through a steel mesh ceiling.
Bukele is completely unapologetic about all this, but of course, what he's doing is deeply controversial.
NGOs have reported over 300 deaths in the Salvadoran prison system. Instances of torture, of being beaten by guards, of being, in some cases, sexually abused by guards.
Tens of thousands that are there in Cecot have no voice. They don't have lawyers. They don't have access to communication.
Despite this, Bukele's popularity has soared.
There was another election last year when he got more than 80% of the vote. That was genuine displays of popularity.
People are able to walk down the street at night freely for the first time in their lives. You can't really undersell that.
But that safety has come with a price. Unprecedented power concentrated in one man's hands. And now, his model is gaining admirers far beyond El Salvador's borders. Across Latin America, Bukele's playbook is spreading. This map highlights countries where political leaders have openly embraced elements of Bukele's security strategy.
He's something of a poster boy. The question is whether it can actually be mimicked elsewhere.
In Honduras, they launched another state of exception. Extortion went down a little bit, murders went down a little bit, but then yo-yoed right back up. And then in Ecuador, of course, Daniel Noboa declared a state of internal armed conflict against gangs. And similarly, we saw a moderate decline in homicide rates. That being said, I don't think that it's going away anytime soon. In places like Peru, Chile, which are both heading into elections, the number one issue that a lot of voters have is insecurity. I think we're very likely to see heavy-fisted candidates rising to the top in some of these elections.
Even Washington, normally quick to condemn abuses, has embraced Bukele as a partner.
Both countries are trying to use their relationship with one another as a means of signaling.
He's had no issue with allowing the United States to portray El Salvador and the Cecot prison as a hellhole that immigrants could well end up there.
This facility is one of the tools in our toolkit that we will use if you commit crimes against the American people.
Bukele has sort of tried to make himself a flag bearer for this. If he can lock in that relationship with the US, Bukele thinks that by 2028, he will be in a very firmly entrenched position to remain in power.
Bukele's success has cemented his authority, and with it, his grip on power. In 2024, he won a second term despite a constitutional ban, after a court packed with his allies cleared the way. By 2025, his party abolished term limits altogether, allowing him to run indefinitely. Opponents now warn that democracy in El Salvador is dead.
We've seen a remarkable decline in violence, but also a remarkable consolidation of Bukele's control over the Salvadoran state.
Total control of the Congress, complete control of the courts. Politicians told me people might feel that their lives have been changed for the better. They don't have to fear the gangs anymore. But there might soon come a time when they fear their own government. If you have a really powerful and dangerous government that can do whatever it wants, how do you get out of that situation?